Okay, Dra, I woke up in a construction camp on the East River. It's maybe 5 in the morning, and I have absolutely no idea what I signed up for.
That right there, a TAF, that's the Brooklyn Bridge. Except it's 1870, and it looks absolutely nothing like the Brooklyn Bridge. They handed me this tin cup, told me breakfast was done, and that the shift starts at 6 in the morning. Already cold, already muddy. Roughly 600 men work this site every single day. 600. And they rotated in shifts because the work literally never stopped. These barges brought granite blocks all the way from Maine. Each block weighed more than what my car weighs, and they moved them by hand. There's no hydraulics, no electric motors, just ropes, chains, and about 8 guys pulling in the same direction at the same time. That tower is already taller than most buildings in New York right now, a fur, and it's not even close to finished yet. Okay, so this tower, this is the part I was not prepared for. They work underground, under the river, in a pressurized air chamber. This hatch is about the size of a manhole cover. You climb in, go through an airlock, and then you're sealed under the river at pressure. You can actually feel the pressure through the wood. It's like standing next to something that might just decide to give up at any moment.
The pressure hits you in the ears right away, tacked, like diving to the bottom of a pool, except you keep going, and it keeps getting worse.
I'm under the East River right now. The roof above me is the bottom of the river. That is not a normal sentence.
The ceiling is so low I have to walk hunched over the whole time. These guys did this for a 2-hour shift, every single day.
They had to manually excavate the riverbed, pickaxe and shovel P, so the caisson could slowly sink deeper under its own weight as they built the tower on top.
All the material they dug up got hauled out through these tiny shafts, bucket by bucket. Thousands of buckets, every shift. It's hot down here now, weirdly hot, and the air feels heavy, like there's more of it than there should be. That's the pressure. 2 atmospheres compressed into this room.
What nobody told these men, and I mean nobody, is that coming back up too fast from this causes something called the bends.
Men came out of here after their 2-hour shift, and some of them just collapsed. Joints locking up, paralysis, some went blind. They called it Kaizen disease. I was down there for maybe 20 minutes, and my head is already pounding. These guys did 2-hour shifts. I have enormous respect for them. All right, Thect, I survived the underground portion. Now I want to see where all those granite blocks actually end up. Towers are designed to reach 276 feet when finished. Right now, this one is maybe halfway there, and it already looks like it goes on forever. Cold, absolutely solid gnaw. These stones fit together so tightly you can barely get a fingernail in the joint. And no power tools cut any of this.
Every block you see in that tower was lifted manually. No electric cranes, no hydraulics. A guy on a rope, a guy with a guide pole, and a lot of hoping it goes where it's supposed to.
I asked if I could go up. A foreman with the most impressive mustache I've ever seen in my life said, and I quote, "Sure, just don't fall."
Okay, the view up here is genuinely incredible, and also I am now deeply aware that the only thing between me and the river is some rope and a few planks.
That little hatch I came out of 20 minutes ago, Joe, I can barely see it from here. That's how high we are. And we're not even at the top. The men who worked up here had no harness, no safety line, no helmet. If you slipped here, that was it. And they just came to work every day anyway. That guy above me is a stonemason now, a skilled one. He's placing individual blocks with iron tongs and hand signals. That's the only communication system they have up here. I'm going back down, voluntarily. These guys worked an entire shift up there. I lasted about 4 minutes before deciding I had enough content. There's a blacksmith shop right here on site tight, which makes total sense once you realize how many iron tools break or go blunt in a single shift down in that caisson.
The temperature difference between outside and in here is real extreme. It went from freezing river fog to standing next to a blast furnace in about 3 steps.
This chisel is completely blunt. The edge is totally gone. This gets thrown in the fire, hammered back into shape, and it's back in someone's hand within the hour.
The sound of this forge running all day was constant, They said you could hear the hammer strikes from the other side of the river on a quiet morning. This bellows thing looks simple. It is not simple. You have to pump it constantly to keep the fire hot enough to soften iron well. Someone did this all day long.
That quench hardens the steel hard, heats it, shapes it, then shocks it in cold water. Same basic technique that blacksmiths had been using for 2,000 years before this moment.
Quick thing, Tap, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, just do it. We're literally building a bridge in 1870 together. Don't miss what comes next.
The supply yard is incredible. Stacks of stone, mountains of chain, rope piled higher than my head.
This rope, it looks rough because it is. Hemp fiber, twisted into strands, then into cables. This is what holds a 6-ton ground. The horses on this site were working just as hard as the men. Heavy draft horses, all day, hauling stone back and forth between the barge dock and the tower. This horse is so calm, absolute professional, probably the most reliable member of the whole operation, honestly.
This pulley block is pure iron and weighs probably 30 pounds on its own. And they use dozens of these at every elevation of the tower.
There's an actual engineering office here, Tau, a wooden building with real glass windows, which is basically a luxury on this site.
Inside it smells like wood smoke, paper, and lamp oil. And everything in here is hand-drawn. Every single calculation. This drawing right here, this cross-section here is the entire reason the tower doesn't just fall into the river. Everything they're doing outside comes back to what's on this piece of paper. Everything about this bridge comes from those hand-drawn plans. 14 years of construction and it all starts with ink on paper in that little wooden office.
That bell means it's the midday break, hell, which in 1870 means you stop for about 30 minutes before going right back at it for the rest of the shift.
Lunch, stew fra, I think beef, definitely potatoes, something that might be turnip toes, and bread that is a lot denser than anything I've eaten in my actual life.
Okay, toast, it's actually not bad. Very salty, very filling. I think that's the whole point. You need something that stays with you for 6 more hours of hauling granite.
Most of these men were immigrants, Irish, German, Italian. Some of them barely spoke any English.
The pay for all of this, Kaispins, the caisson shifts, the tower work, the hauling spin, was about $2 a day, which was actually...
Break's over, 30 minutes, and now everyone just picks up exactly where they left off. No transition period, no warm-up, just back into it.
This is a capstan cod. A horse turns it in circles to wind the rope that lifts the stone. Low tech, but when you need to lift something that weighs as much as a truck, it works. This horse does this literally all day. Walks in a circle. Its entire job is walking in a circle. And somehow it seems completely fine with it. The tension in this rope is substantial. Even with the capstan doing the work, you still need people guiding it through the pulleys. Every inch of this is manual. Here's something that surprised me, Targ. The main suspension cables of this bridge are made of steel wire. Not hemp rope, steel wire that gets...
Each main cable ends up being almost 16 inches in diameter and contains more than 5,000 individual wires. From here you can see both towers, Manhattan on this side, Brooklyn on the other. One day they'll connect at the top with wire cables and...
They started this project in 1869. It won't open until 1883. 14 years.
Even the road inside the camp needs constant maintenance. The weight of the stone carts destroys the planks and the mud just swallows everything. There's always something to fix.
This weighs a lot. The guy next to me has been swinging this thing for 6 hours already, and he's not even sweating. I picked it up and almost threw my back out.
I hit it Tau. The stake moved approximately 0.
He did it in 4 hits. I genuinely do not know how anyone's shoulders survive an entire shift of this.
I want to be clear, Stav, these are ordinary workers, not athletes, not soldiers, guys who just show up and do this because it's the job. That's it. The cable anchorages are basically giant stone anchors buried in the ground. They're what keeps the cables from pulling the towers down when the bridge is loaded. Each anchor block ends up being something like 60,000 tons of masonry. The cables pull on it and it just doesn't move, because you can't move 60,000 tons of rock. There's something kind of beautiful about this engineering info. Everything is so simple in concept. Big enough block, can't pull it out of the ground. It's getting toward late afternoon and the light is hitting this tower in a way that makes you understand, just for a second, what it's going to look like when it's finished.
They're building something that will still be here 150 years from now. And right now it just looks like a pile of rocks and ropes on a muddy riverbank.
The tower arch openings, the Gothic arches you see in every photo of the finished bridge those aren't just decorative. They actually reduce the stone volume. These guys are relashing the scaffold joints, because hemp rope stretches and degrades under load, so especially in wet weather.
Watch how he does that, Lays. Figure 8 pattern, double wrap, pulled tight by hand. No bolts, no clamps, just rope.
He's pulling that rope tighter than I physically can. Like it's not even effort for him. 10 hours into a shift and he's still doing this. This is the end of the caisson shift coming out now. Watch how they move though. Slowly, carefully. If they come up too fast, they risk the bends. That guy just spent 2 hours under the river with a pickaxe in compressed air. The fact that he can walk out under his own power is honestly impressive. I asked him if his joints hurt. He held up both hands buried, the knuckles were swollen. Just nodded. Then he picked up his jacket and started walking back to the barracks.
The thing about 1870 New York is that this city is already enormous, over 1 million people, and nobody on the street has any idea what this can. Before this bridge, the only way to get between Manhattan and Brooklyn was the ferry. In winter, when the river froze, you were just stuck. The bridge changes all of that permanently.
That ferry runs all day and all night Pinto, and it's completely packed every single crossing. 30 million ferry crossings a year on this.
When it opens in 1883, 150,300 people will cross it on the very first day. That's not a number someone made up.
12 hours. The shift is 12 hours, not an 8-hour thing, not a 10-hour thing. 12 hours, 6 days a week for wages that barely covered rent in 1870 New York. The barracks are all basic. Rows of bunks, straw mattresses, 1 lantern per room. If you lived on site, you went straight from a 12-hour shift into that bunk and started over the next morning.
Some of these workers had families in Brooklyn or Manhattan, Dow. They'd go home after the shift. The ones living on site were often newly... The site gets lit by oil lanterns after dark Herod. There's a night crew. The work literally never stops. Even the forge runs almost around the clock, the cats, because the night shift needs sharp tools too. This place literally never fully stops.
At night, this thing looks completely different, Hal. Just a shadow against the sky with a few lantern points. It's enormous and it's barely started. It's gonna be something. I've been here 1 day, 1 shift here, and I'm exhausted just from watching. These guys did this for 14 years.
The thing that keeps getting me is the fact they didn't know it would work. Not completely. This was the longest suspension bridge ever attempted. And it did work. The Brooklyn Bridge opened in 1883. It's still standing. 150 years of...
The thing nobody talks about when they talk about the Brooklyn Bridge is the workers. You hear about Roebling, about the engineering, but 600 men a day for 14 years built that thing with their hands.
This guy checking rope wear by lantern light at night tear, this is the kind of job nobody sees. It's not the tower, it's not the cables, it's just... A single bad rope failure at the wrong moment means a 6-ton block of granite falls on whoever's below. So this tear, this inspection that nobody... Brooklyn is right there, across this black water. About a mile. And right now, the only way to get there is that paddle wheel ferry I saw earlier. I keep coming back to the scale of the commitment here. This city decided, okay, we're gonna move this river.
Even right now, while I'm walking back here in the dark, there are men 35 feet below the river in that caisson swinging picks. From here you can see the whole operation thing, all of it at once. The tower, the barracks, the forge, the dock. And it also...
One thing that genuinely blew my mind today, they had no pneumatic drills, no dynamite for this section, no electric anything.
The engineer's office is still lit. He's been in there all day and he's still going. The whole site eventually shuts down except for the case and night crew show and the engineer who apparently doesn't stop.
I want to ask you something before I wrap this up, Chelf, and I genuinely want to know. What part of this surprised you most?
Was it the caisson? The 12-hour shifts? The fact that the chief engineer directed the last 10 years from a window with a telescope?
Drop it in the comments, pair. I read all of them. Because whatever you say, somebody in the comments right now is going to disagree with you, and that's going to make for a much better conversation than me just talking.
I think what got me most was the caisson. The fact that nobody, that's not the engineers, not the doctor stood.
They knew men were getting sick. They just didn't know why. And the project kept going anyway, because stopping wasn't an option. The city needed that bridge.
The bridge took 14 years, over 600 workers every single day, at least 27 lives, and about 15 million.
10 minutes. For something that took 14 years to build, that 600 men showed up to every single morning, that some of them never came home from, I don't know, I feel like that deserves more than 10 minutes.
Next time you're in New York and you walk across that bridge, just look at the towers, look at where the stone meets the mortar. Some guy in 1870 on a rope scaffold placed that stone by hand.
Cold, absolutely solid, same stone, same mortar joints, same anchor pins, bowl, still right here, still holding up one of the most famous bridges in the world. That's 1870 Brooklyn Bridge construction. I went underground, went up the scaffolding, tried to drive a stake and embarrassed myself and survived the caisson. Oh, barely.
If you're still here, Pro, thank you for coming to 1870 with me. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we go to a lot more places that don't have Wi-Fi, and I always bring the camera.
Before I go, Prow, I need you to tell me something in the comments. If you had to pick one job on this entire site, what would you actually do? Because I've been here all day and I still genuinely don't know what I'd pick. It's 1870. The bridge isn't halfway done. And somewhere below my feet, a guy with a pickaxe is